Dean. People have called me David before, and I've answered to it
David.
because I don't care. They're just trying to communicate with me. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Like
I
people,
like
they
that
just
attitude about it.
they fucked it up, and it's fine. I don't really care.
You're saying a
I didn't-
rose by any other name would smell as as sweet, right? It's not important.
God, that's such a great saying, dude.
Did you come up with that?
No, that's Romeo and Juliet.
So we're at Brett is saying bassist and saying presidential
David,
candidate.
I think the fact that he's going by David, I think that's what makes it. If it was Dave, I'd be like, bass player.
David
But
would be
I
like-
think David, he's a presidential candidate.
All
David
right.
gets some Grand Marnier like shooters in his margarita.
So in the first edition of Democratic candidate or new metal bassist, the winner is Brett Payne.
Yes!
Home field advantage.
Home field.
David Gentile was the bass player for Orange 9mm.
Woo!
So
That's a deep cut.
it is. I had to go.
Yo,
You
of
know
course.
how hard. Here's the truth about this contest here. It's very difficult to find non-Latin acts, new metal acts, because so many. There were not a ton of white dudes
Oh, you're saying
in a lot of those bands. So I
Hispanic
couldn't-
guys were picking up the slack on the bass.
Yeah, it was so many Hispanic guys that I was like, I had to go deep on that because I just look up a group and it would be like, oh, this is like totally a bass player. You know, that's why I had to go to Avenged Sevenfold and stuff like that. But it was pretty, that was really fun. Maybe we'll do more games on the show now. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was good. That was hard. I like that.
Yeah, that is tapping deep. When I was a kid, like I really did want a longer name, so I was like made it a big joke when I was in my teens, and I was like, man, it really sucks. Like all of you have these like full long names, and you can like pick how you want to be addressed and all that. And so my friends got me a cake from like Kroger that said "Happy Birthday, Brettrick." They made my name longer, so I could pick a shortened one.
So we got a meme. It's a
A
screen
meme?
cap. It's actually not a meme. It's a memo, which is kind of the same thing, right? Except for a different letter. Somebody sent me this in my email, and he wants to be anonymous because it's obviously where they work. And I screen cap the picture, and we're gonna go ahead and look through this. And it's gonna take me. Here it is. This thing is called Humble, Hungry, and People Smart. And it's something that was sent to the employees of a company.
What?
There's three headers. Hungry. These are types of employees, I believe. Descriptors for employees.
Okay.
And this is a recruiting company.
Okay.
So this
what they're
person
looking for.
is you're looking for certain types of people.
Okay, got it.
And it's humble, hungry, and people smart. And these are just sentences that you ask people to get these answers out of them, I believe. Tell me about the most important accomplishment of your career. Now, remember, the answer you're looking... Because we've talked about this in the past. Me and Brett we talked about job interviews.
Yeah, you should see how fucking crazy he is about it.
I am very crazy about job interviews. But we talked about how you have no idea what you're going in there. What they're trying to get from you is like a game.
Yeah.
It's a weird game. So
It's
this is...
like you're trapped in the fucking labyrinth.
It is!
And it's very subjective. I think that what sucks is that for me, that even someone knows a lot of the rules and the niceties of things, is it still just matters. It's like if this is just some dysfunctional assholes that's looking for somebody that it can bully around. Like I'm probably not going to be the personality that makes it through the interview. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just... it's one of those things that like they ask you a question, what are your accomplishments, right? And what they're really asking you is they want a certain kind of answer.
Right.
To they want a certain kind of answer, and they don't have the answer written down, but it's that you need to give a humble answer. So I thought maybe we'd try to answer these questions, right?
That's corny.
Try to get a humble. You don't want to try to answer the questions?
Do you have? I don't know. I can't do that. I can't be honest. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's corny. I'm just saying like, I can't be that honest. I can't do a job interview answer.
You can't do a job interview answer
I
anymore?
feel like I have existed for so long, like
Yes, they
outside of job world, that like all my accomplishments are like I tricked somebody into giving me a book deal.
Yeah, see, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine what I would say. Like at this point, it is weird. Sometimes I try to think if everything fell apart and I had to go interview for a job. I don't know what I would say I've been doing for like the last 10 years.
Actually, let me answer that. I found the DM that the person had sent me. And he sent me this, and it said, in case you need some riffing material for Street Fight, here's a bullshit homework assignment I've been given from a recruiter for a job I just applied for. The recruiter said to answer with at least a few sentences for each question. Jesus fucking Christ.
So it
if
is
I get the
actually
job,
homework,
I'm invoicing them for the time I'm spending doing this, which is very nice because there's a lot of questions here. But,
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, in these type of situations, I always made things up. I honestly would just think of TV and think of other things that happened in the office and would come up with a story that I think made me look like I learned something, but then was triumphant in the end. Like I would just,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a robot
Yeah.
thing, though.
No,
What
that's
you're
you would,
saying.
you would I would
I'm like, well-
absolutely what I would do. I'd do the exact same thing. I finally figured out at almost age 40 that like you just lie.
yeah, you just
Like,
tell them,
you just
tell
go
them
to a
exactly
job
what they
interview
want to
and
hear. You say, I'm going to say everything you want to hear, so that way you don't have to feel held accountable for what I do because I said all the right things.
Right.
And then you let me into this thing, and then we see what happens.
It never ends good with
Yeah, I mean,
But, you know.
it's gonna be surprising what
But
you get.
I
But yeah.
always felt like whatever the job is, I'm gonna do it, and I got it.
I would say,
That's how
you know,
I have
we
felt,
we were
too.
gonna launch a new product back at this new company back in 2016, and you know, we were supposed to meet this deadline, and I went over 2 weeks, and I learned in that time, you know, that you know you can't give up, and that you have to keep moving on, and I wanted to, for you know, so long. Wanted to just feel like I was a failure, and everybody there didn't think of me that way, and that they wanted to work with it too, and we were all felt so triumphant by the end. You know, like you
Jesus
just lie.
Christ,
That's-
you are the best.
I just tell them whatever
That's
they
so
want to hear.
good.
I
That's
know.
so
He's a
good.
king salesman, Brett.
I just lie.
Like a
You just
king
lie
level.
through your fucking teeth.
Brett, what was the
People
most
are
embarrassing?
easy.
What? How do you answer this one? What was the most embarrassing moment in your career, or the biggest failure?
Oh God.
See, that's the kind of
Embarrassing
thing
moment
where
in
a
your
lot.
career.
I want to give some advice just from here,
Yeah.
just from the Brian side, which is, obviously you're not getting good advice from me, but don't make your biggest failure a positive. Because I sort
Yeah,
of
that's
feel
true.
like back when I
That's
was
very
in high
obvious.
school, I was told to always steer it to positive. So when they say your biggest failure, you'll be like, well, back in the day, I worked with this person, and I was very nice to them and took on all of their work, and then I got overworked, and then it bit me in the ass.
I don't want to ruin this right now, but I do want to say that is actually a pretty salient point. Like, if you are trying to get a job in this day and age, you're not just like an internet person. You should not like try to spin it into like my biggest problem is that I care too much about my job.
Yes.
Like, I mean, if I like my answer would be like, I was supposed to set up an art exhibit, and I didn't know how to do that, but I told someone that I could, and I couldn't figure out how to contact people and set the thing up, and the deadline hit, and I had nothing to show for it, and it like tore apart a relationship that will probably never get to rebuild.
Yeah.
And that's like a failure.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
like just sucks. Like, but now I have to know what I'm getting myself into. I'm more prepared. I understand what it's like when you like actually bottom out and like actually crash the plane and shit fucking falls apart.
Yeah, because I think like the instinct and I think job.
I mean, you have to come
coaching-
back. You like if that happened to me like 10 years ago, and I could have said like I did something bad one time, so I guess I should never try again, and just lived as a failure forever.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, if so many people convince themselves to do that.
And that shows something good about you. Like, people think that you need to hide all your failures when you're looking for a job or you're interviewing. And the truth is, everybody has failures, especially when they're looking for work. But you do have to come up with a positive failure in a way.
You do.
You know, like in the end, oh, it was great. It wasn't that embarrassing, and people liked me in the end, you know?
Yeah. I mean, as long as you say you learned something from it, I guess that's what they're looking for.
How did you handle that embarrassment or failure? I think we covered that.
Yeah.
What is your greatest weakness?
Oh, God.
That's another
This
thing.
is,
That's
like, so
that's a
stupid.
hard one.
Yeah,
though.
it's not
I want to
fair.
say that one is the most unfair one because you're being evaluated on what your weakness is, and you could easily like, oh, you know, like if my real weakness is that I don't do good attention to detail. You know, but if I told that to a guy in a job interview, he'd be like, "Well, why would I hire you then? You don't have good attention to detail."
My biggest weakness is taking stuff from inventory and putting it in boxes to ship to clients. Like, what?
Yeah. My biggest weakness really is that when I do the math on how much you're making, I realize I'm not making enough. So I usually steal my way up to a wage that I think is more fair.
My biggest weakness has been the urge to steal at all of my jobs. That's a main one.
Well, you know, this is a tough question because it is... they're looking for a Renaissance person. Whenever they're hiring somebody for a job, what they mean is like, you need to be able to do anything and everything we ask of you. And to be honest, we all probably only have 3 to 4 strengths. And the rest are all weaknesses. And we beat ourselves up over and over again because we think these weaknesses need to be fixed about us. But if we all just instead were like, hey, I'm terrible at attention to detail, but I can draw a crowd, but I can write like crazy, but I can do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I just really need to have a lot of other people following up behind me. So if you have people that are good at doing the details, I would be a great fit, right?
That's true. That is exactly it. Like, that is a funny thing because, like, these interviewers are not looking for a team.
No.
They're looking for an individual team in each person that they hire.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because everything has to be so individualized anyway.
What if somebody goes over on what if somebody misses too many days because of a healthcare crisis and we have to fire them? Could you also do half of their job for 6 weeks until we could find a replacement?
Yeah. How do you handle apologies, either giving or accepting them? I have a great answer for this. I give way too many apologies.
Yes, Midwest. Midwest is I'm sorry. I'm alive. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'm just like right here. I'm a big mass of flesh. I'm sorry for being here.
I like it to the point now where I get yelled at for apologizing to my wife because I
do that.
I've said this on the show a few times lately, but basically the way that I think you control the world is to realize everything is your fault. That's how I handle looking at the world. All the uncontrollable stuff that I can't handle, it's like, that's me. I'm not doing nothing about it.
Sure.
I think apologizing and actually, like, if you do fuck anything up, I think apologizing for it and taking responsibility for it is like a huge power move that not a lot of people are willing to do.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and I think it's like taking power. It's like, yeah, I fucked that up. I'm sorry. And then it's like, well, I said it was my fault. I said that I feel bad about it. And like, I'm apologizing to you because I realized it emotionally affected you. Like, the ball's in your court now.
Well, I mean, it is selfish in a way, but it is but it is also the right thing to do. And
it is.
I think like, the answer to a lot of this stuff that people won't understand is that if you get too much in your head, once you start thinking about what to say, if you don't just come with like an honest answer, you do have to be nice. You have to put some charisma on, but you have to just be honest, right? I mean, that is what is transgressive to the whole situation, is if you just are like, hey, I screwed that up. There's no reason to not apologize. Like, I spent a lot of time as an early adult man trying to know everything and trying to be very solid, thinking that I had to be like a rock and I had to be solid. And, that was what manhood was, and that I could never apologize, or I could always be right in some way that I could explain or something. And then you get to the point where it's like, it's way easier to be like, oh, I was completely fucking wrong about that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
When I said that about you, you felt like shit. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Someone told me that you felt like shit about that, and I just heard, and I wasn't trying to do that. What's going on? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just a way better experience than thinking that you've never been wrong in your life. Which Joe Biden, another one of the Democratic
Yeah.
National Convention candidates, whatever.
He's
said
big
it.
on not admitting.
Yeah, I've never
you
done
did it.
anything wrong
Yeah.
in my life, which is stupid. I mean, apologize always. Don't apologize. I am against the Midwestern position, and Erica is out of it, but like I don't like the just sorry all the time. It's just like too fucking much for me.
It is. It's sort of passive aggressive in a way. For
yeah.
me, it's like it feels like the only way out of an uncomfortable situation.
Yes.
I think I think
Yes,
how
you're
I
just-
see it.
You
It's
want
like,
to resolve it as quickly as possible, so
Right.
you just kind of try to back out of it. That's how I feel.
yeah. The next one we have here is this is odd. Tell me about someone who is better than you in an area that really matters to you.
Oh my god.
Like, can you imagine getting? I don't even know what to fucking say.
This
to
is
that.
this is becoming to the point. This seems like Catholic type. Get on your knees and pray. You're awful. You've sinned. You need to apologize. This is all so fucking negative.
So that's
like
the
this is all
humble-
just like, this person's excelling. Why aren't you doing that? What do you wish that you could get that this other person does better than you?
So that's the humble section. Maybe hungry will be different.
What was it? No. So what was the question again?
Tell me about someone who is better than you in an area that really matters to you.
Well,
Like, I don't
what,
even know
frisbee
what to
golf?
say.
You mean
Yeah.
frisbee golf? What would you? You got to do a charming answer for this one. I mean, what do you say?
I don't have any
Like
fucking
the
idea.
fucking. I mean, what person? Like a illustrator? I mean, a famous person?
I know. I don't
Like,
have like a person that I covet
you
their
know what?
spot.
I used to work at Wendy's, and the general manager there, his wife was independently wealthy, so all the money that he made from being a general manager at Wendy's, he spent on gambling in Las Vegas, and he drove a Cadillac, and I really think that guy has hit the right idea. I don't know. I really don't know what the answer to that would be.
We might be the three exact wrong people to answer that question, and that
What
like
is-
our jobs depend on us being kind of like different from other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there are people that do this better than me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like sit here and like that feels like beating yourself
I guess
up for
that's what I'm
somebody.
saying. Yeah, it feels like flogging your back. I mean, I could say there are people, and I guess there are broadcasters that I admire to a point.
Yeah.
and I would say that's what I would say. You're right. That's the ticket. That's where that's where it's
Yeah.
at.
Yeah, but then if you're interviewing for a job, you would not be interviewing for a podcast. You'd be interviewing for a
exactly
job
it.
to do something, and you'd be like, I guess like 11 years ago, I knew a guy who could make copies faster than
Like,
me.
or like I could even see somebody going in to answer this question and being like, well,
What is this for? Like, what is this
it's
job?
for a job.
For what kind of a job?
He got it from a recruiter, so the recruiter is trying to get
How much does this
him
pay?
a
I
corporate
mean-
job. I don't
Oh,
know.
corporate job.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm wondering what the pay is on this.
This is one way that I think I can answer this question,
It
but
just
I think
also-
it's so weird, and it might be not smart, but it's like, I enjoy sports, and I played football when I was younger, and I have put a high premium on athleticism, so I really look up to Tom Brady.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's like the perfect
I like
dipshit
that.
answer
That makes
to
you so
like a
that makes you so
regular
likable,
job.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that one.
That might have been a win for
I
me.
just want to run and throw the ball good.
Hey man, at the end of the day, I just like playing flag football with my family on a Thanksgiving. Right?
Yeah. The next subheader is hungry.
What I'm just saying at this point is that it's just the whole thing has been so fucking negative. It just seems like people that are like hate themselves, like they're just
But
pessimists.
That is also what people think humble is.
Yes, being
right?
pessimistic about
Yeah.
your life. Let's be honest. I'm a piece of garbage that isn't deserving of anything, but I've crawled out of the dirt and I'm trying to get a monthly fucking paycheck from this company.
The next section's hungry. The first question is, what is the hardest you've ever worked on something in your life?
That's a good one.
I
no,
could-
that's fun.
I-
I mean, that's tough. I mean, that's a good one. Go ahead. Sorry.
I know I have a great. So I used to work in a factory. We made specialty chemicals, which later turned out to be like part additives to plastics and part like chemicals to go into the war machine. There was like chemicals they made, and they made bombs explode better. And I didn't know this until I'd worked there for like 2 years because somebody told me, and I was like, no, that's not right. And then I went and looked it up, and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
But so I was working, I was in this factory, and they said, we'll give you triple overtime. So I made 3 times my base rate. So I was making like $30 an hour to work over Christmas, like literally on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day,
They gotta
the
make the
day
bomb
after,
stuff that on
All the
Christmas.
time.
the day
They
after
gotta make
Christmas.
it-
So here's
Bombs
why
are
I
dropping
had
on
to.
Christmas around the world.
Yeah,
Santa's dropping
yeah.
bombs.
They don't have Christmas in some countries. Yeah. So so I was working, and it was like over Christmas, and it was super overtime because there was some project going on, and I was like either 19 or 20 years old. I was not old. I was not authoritative, and I was in charge of supervising these contractors. And I go out one day, and a guy's welding, and he's got an isopropyl alcohol, which is just like rubbing out. It's this stuff, isopropyl alcohol.
The good stuff.
Right, the good stuff.
91%.
Extremely flammable, right? He's got a drum of it, and he's welding on it. And welding, as you may know, is a very hot process that generates a lot of sparks. Not the best thing to do, so I'm like, no, you can't weld on a drum of this stuff, whatever. And I go out in this warehouse, and he's just up on this scissor lift, and he's cutting into this pipe. And I was like, bro, like, the pipe is full of noxious shit. It's like, whatever the condition is, there's like residue of all this stuff in there. And he's like, well, I gotta cut into this pipe. And I was like, you need to like get protective gear. And he's like, I don't need any of that shit. He cuts into it, and this super toxic residue like falls on his face. Like, if it was a comic, it would have turned him into something.
Yeah, yeah.
It would have turned him into Spider-Man or the fucking
Acid Man.
Acid Man. And so he's like screaming, and he's like sputtering. I'm sure some of it got in his mouth. And I like I said, I was 19 or 20 years old, and I ran and I hid.
That was the hardest. Like,
That was the
hey,
hardest.
You know?
That was the hardest thing. I thought this guy was gonna kick my ass because he was like 24.
I really, truly, honestly, and I'm gonna say this.
I love that question.
The hardest thing I've ever worked on in my life. I'm gonna give 2 answers. Number one, the drive-through on a Friday night at a McDonald's is one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And I will say this: that Northeastern tour we did earlier in the year was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Because, like, I felt like, wow, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like, it was a lot of work. We worked very hard on that tour, and it was like, that was one of those things where at the end, I was like, hey, this is supposed to be like easier than the cable job, not more work.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like this question a lot. I would like to ask people this because it is something. It's really memorable, and there's like so many that you can come up with once you start thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it's indicative, I think, of like I don't know, just like talking about strengths once again, like from the earlier question. It does give you an idea of what you can do really well.
Yeah.
Like, I remember stacking boxes to the point where my hair was just like soaking wet, like I was in the fucking shower, and just loving it, just doing so good at like making trucks full of boxes like disappear onto pallets and shit with a whole bunch of people that they said we had to get it done. It was supposed to not to happen, and like doing stuff like that. Also, editing video for this, like doing like just 19 hours of editing for a stupid fucking video that we made for Patreon to get people to like subscribe and stuff, and just being up all night long. There, you know, doing chores in the middle of the night is another one. Like, just thinking about
That
like
rocks when you wake up and they're done and you're like, damn.
when I'm just like, you know, Friday night I'm gonna do all the chores from midnight to 2 a.m. and then get up on Saturday and everything's together, and it's not
That
like
rocks.
not a lot of shit to do. Yeah, I don't know.
What do you like to do when you're not working? Which is an out of bounds question. I don't think you should be allowed to ask that at a job interview because most people are. Most
That's
people,
a
if we're
good one.
being honest, there's a good percentage of people who the answer's getting drunk.
Right. Exactly. That's
that
the truth.
can't be the answer.
You're right. You know.
That's a fucking awful
It's-
question. And the last time I had to tell people about what I was doing outside of work, it was August 2001. And I tell my boss, I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving because I was gonna, like you said, I was gonna fuck off and I was gonna go record some music. I was gonna go make a music video, and I was gonna get the music video up, and I was gonna do all this stuff. And I had this thing I was working where you would get paid for downloads, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can get X number of downloads. I move this traffic through the web, whatever. Right, so it's August 2001. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's leaving. He's leaving." And my boss is like, "So, what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I don't know. Well, I'm gonna travel a little bit. I'm gonna go to New York, because I'm gonna like visit some friends of mine, whatever. And I'm working on some personal projects. And it's August 2001, and very vague about it because I'm like, I don't want to tell these guys. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got this band, and I don't want to talk about the band, and I don't want them to fucking listen to it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I'm putting shit on the internet, and I'm putting drawings and funny stuff on the internet. And so they're like, oh, well, he left under mysterious circumstances. He said he was working on personal projects, and he said he was going to New York. His last date of work, August 31st, 2001. So I know for sure, as soon as 9/11 happened, they were like, I wonder if that's him. Like, just for, like, 30 minutes, and then,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I just wonder what I would say. Like, what would I even?
I like this one. I would like this, but once again, this is a blank canvas. I mean, this is a moment in your life where you kind of write a narrative, and you take a little bit about yourself. Like, you know, maybe you went out for one of those paint nights where you all like did pottery and you painted it, and you really loved it. So, you know, what you do is you just say, like, you know, in my spare time, I like to paint. I don't really do it for, like, any commercial success or anything. I've never
That's
shared
smart.
it. I just buy, like, canvases from Joann Fabrics for $9.99 and paint flowers and still lifes at my house. And I find it really calming and relaxing. And they're just like, I want to be you. It's like,
You know what is actually really good about that answer? It's not necessarily I want to be you, but it's like they don't want to see your fucking paintings.
that's true.
You know what I mean?
No, you take them down a boring ass path where they're like, wow, this person actually has a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, they have a hobby to the point where I'm not interested in hearing about it. Like, they're that deep into it.
Yeah, because they are. I you know, if somebody told me I like to paint in my spare time when I'm not at work, I could see being like, oh man, I really admire you for painting. But then I also would probably be like, I don't even care to see any
Yeah,
of
like-
these paintings at all.
You're not gonna try to sell them at work or anything like
Yeah.
that, right? You're gonna leave flyers for your gallery openings that are
This, I'm sorry.
Office?
This next question is really odd.
This is a barrage. This is like, feels like Clockwork Orange with the toothpicks, with the eyes open, and they're just like, tell us about your flaws.
You're like answering it to get a job,
You're
which
like,
is extra harder.
I love the springtime. I love the blooming flowers. I like to hike with my family and absorb nature.
Well, here's a very odd. This is maybe the oddest of these questions, if you ask me. Did you work hard when you were a teenager?
Ooh, they don't want the real answer.
Oh,
Ask
what-
that question.
What is that?
You gotta give me a Miller Lite and a cigarette if you're gonna ask that question to me. I have to know you're fucking cool. I'm not gonna talk to you about that unless I know I can trust you. We have to do a fucking federal crime. Like, we have to do an illegal act together before I would talk to you about that.
What do you think they're looking for? I mean, they're looking for yes.
That's all they want. The only thing they want is that, yes, I naturally have taken to work and falling into line, and I'm just, ready to help out wherever I, my mom was always like, wondering why I was asking to help with the dishes, She
Well,
was
and the
always
thing
mad
about
because I
me-
was bothering her. I wanted to vacuum more.
The thing about me was something that I said, was something that I think I said to you last week. I mean, generally, if I had never done this show, I would have thought that I was a hard worker when I was a teenager.
Yeah, you were. Yeah,
Because I think every work is hard.
You know, you have
I
a-
don't like doing it.
no, you have a great. You know, you
I
have a
think-
great idea of yourself.
The phrase "every work is hard" is like so
It's true.
That is perfect.
It
I
is.
love it. It is. It's totally true.
You're good at what
it's
you do.
totally true.
Yeah.
I mean, you're good at what you do, but unfortunately, you did things that you do not do before.
I did things I was bad at.
yeah.
What kind of hours do you generally work? My answer for that would be the ones you make me work. They don't like let me pick. You know?
Why
Yeah,
do they?
this is a
Why do
bad
they
one.
even ask? That's
I
definitely.
mean, for
a-
this one, it sucks. I mean, because if I was going through a job, it'd be like, well, currently I work all the time for my job because people can get a hold of me on 9 different channels.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what I would say other than like I
I now
like
have
to
to
work at night.
Yeah, you know, how much do I work? Well, I answer comments on the payments that I make. Now, I put emojis on the bottoms of my payments on Venmo.
We're in the people smart section. How would you describe your personality? Nobody knows how to do that.
How? Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they're asking
this is like
you how
so
you would do
much.
it,
This is
but
so
I don't
much.
think I could.
If
I
someone
don't know.
could, I mean, if someone does well, I hope I don't know how forgiving they are because if someone does well at this, they're a serial killer, right?
Yeah,
Like if someone
Yeah,
can make
if-
it through this barrage and not have a real fuck up,
they're
say the wrong thing.
if somebody asks you what your personality is like, and you smile at them and you go, "I'm just a people person,"
right.
like what?
you do have
I-
to be a certain kind of phony. Is
Uh,
the word?
yeah,
You've gotta
exactly.
Be a certain kind of phony to answer.
I've
these
always
all right.
considered myself an empath because I always know how everybody in the room feels. If you ask me, I've always had a handle on every situation.
Well, I hate myself generally,
Yeah.
so I'm a hateable person, I guess. Anxious,
I-
anxiety.
I like to, I love my shows. I love to sometimes spend 72 hours in bed watching Netflix.
We got 3 left here. What do you do that others in your personal life might find annoying? That's
This
another
is
one.
How is
So-
that an interview question?
This is awful. This
I
is like,
know.
give me all the dirt. This is just like, up front, what am I not going to like about you? Tell me the truth.
Yeah, and what is the answer to that?
What is
I-
the
those
wait,
people
say
don't
the question.
know that.
Say it again.
What do you do that others in your personal life might
You gotta
find
ask them.
annoying?
Here's the thing.
Call my girlfriend. Call my wife and ask her.
Call
okay?
my
I don't
friends.
fucking know.
I can I'm gonna say this. 1,000,000,000%. All of your friends are saying bad things about your back. That's what happens to everybody. Like all of your friend groups are talking shit about each other. I have no idea what they're saying about me. I know people go home every single time they hang out with me and they're like, yeah, he's just being Brett though. And they're like, I know, he was
don't-
in like full effect tonight.
People
do that.
means.
People do that, and they know, and I accept that. That's humanity. That's community. That's all of
friends.
it. That's
what
friends.
friends are. And you
And
don't
you'd have to,
like-
but you'd have to talk to them because, to be honest, I think if I said it to them, they would be fucking shocked.
Yeah.
Right? Like they wouldn't be so fucking surprised to some of the like, wow, that really hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really
Well,
fucking got me.
Exactly. Nobody at this table knows what.
No.
I mean, and
I'm avoiding all of the stuff I don't like about myself.
Oh,
And
I
I'm
know.
not
I know what
addressing that.
I know what I don't like about myself, but I don't know if other
You
people
don't know
hate that.
you don't know the externalities of that behavior.
Right.
you don't know
Right.
what being Drew is.
Right.
I
What
don't
really
know what
right.
cost
he
the
was
cost
Brian.
on the rest of us to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when somebody says, "Oh, he was Brian," like I think I have a better idea than a lot of people because people say it to me a lot, like as part of my job. But even then, it's like, who knows that? I mean, they probably think I'm putting on a show
It's
all the
unimportant.
time, and
It's
it doesn't
absolutely
matter.
unimportant,
And
yeah.
why? How would you know?
Yeah, to me, that's what I would say is it's absolutely unimportant to me, the thoughts of other people. It just doesn't make sense for me and where my life is going to take the consideration of what the people are saying behind my back. Like,
And like, here's the other thing, dude. So if somebody said to me something about Brett and we were like kind of annoyed and we're like, "Oh, that's Brett," I still like Brett.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
those annoying things don't mean anything. And like they're things that like exist that then it doesn't matter because I like you.
Yeah.
We're friends, and it doesn't fucking matter. It
life.
doesn't have any bearing on
See,
like
that's
that
what-
relationship.
But are they getting basement level drinking IPA deep at this fucking
no
job
absolutely
interview?
not,
Can
no.
you really talk about it? Are you allowed to really jam like this at a job interview?
That's true. You have to think
Like,
of this.
what's the fucking meaning of all this shit?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and
Like,
Brett,
what are we getting at here? Like, do I have access to that knowledge? Could I ever know? Like, how I mean, maybe through monitoring. You'd have to break like a level of trust and record people to find out what they're saying about your life. You'd have to like put cameras in their fucking house to know, because there would be no way that they would ever give you the raw dog shit. You know, like the real thing.
True.
I like the idea of telling an HR person, because
I know.
I used to do all these. I used to interview for jobs in corporations, and corporate HR people are like fucking.
I know.
They're like fucking lizard people.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they're.
I have done job interviews. There was a time, the last job I had was at a startup, and I had enough clout to the point where I got to interview people, and you did kind of see people do. It was like you could tell song and dance people, and some people just had no idea, and some people were just going through the motions. It is like hard. It is weird because someone is thrown in front of you. And
and
then
you're trying to figure them out.
you're trying to figure out where it's going, you know.
and they're trying to prevent you from figuring out what's
Oh,
wrong
yeah,
with
yeah.
them.
Exactly.
Right. They can't tell
They're
you
like
why.
they're like trying to dodge and weave. Yeah,
it's all
absolutely.
showy. It is it's a challenge.
And
Here's
also, if you came to an HR person and they said, "What do you think other people find annoying about you?" and you said, "I take into account 0% what other people think about me," they would be like,
Yeah.
they would be like, "Well, we're gonna keep your resume on file."
Yeah, that is an asshole move. You're right. I mean, I do. Like, I don't. It's got me where I am today. But
I mean,
it will
yeah,
not work in
no,
a job interview.
Well, it doesn't- yeah, and-
I also do, but it's like you couldn't say that to an HR.
Well, they don't want
person.
that. They're
Here's
like-
another trap. This next
That's
question
like
is
the-
another trap too.
Okay.
What kind of people annoy you the most, and how do you deal with them?
Okay. Now this is fun.
It's fun.
This is like
It's
a let's
trap.
go in on somebody. Let's like really fucking beat somebody up, right?
Right, but I don't think they want you to do that. In
What
the
is it?
end, like, I don't even like the idea of answering this question.
What
to somebody.
annoys you about people?
I'd start
What
doing the
kind of
Birdman.
people
I'd be
annoy
like,
you?
oof. I'd be like, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you so many things.
What kind of people annoy you? I feel
I hate
like
when
that's
peop-
an
I
odd
mean,
question.
Yeah, this is a stupid one.
It's a trap.
I mean, it's one where you basically it is like going off like I hate it when like people the start time's 4 p.m. and people are clocking in at 4:03. I'm like, what the hell? I've been here since 3:45. Why aren't you clocked in yet?
I like that answer.
That's
though.
like
Oh,
the best
that's
answer.
so good.
I mean,
People who don't work as hard as me.
Yeah.
That's the
This
thing
is
with
why I
me.
never got any fucking jobs, because people
Well,
like Brett were rolling in
I'm
and
just
they're
a
like,
liar.
on time is late to me.
He's a salesman, you know?
I am a sleaze bag,
All right, here's our
I just-
last one.
silver tongue, whatever you want to hear.
Can you give me an example of how you've demonstrated empathy to a teammate?
Oh,
You
okay.
know, I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't.
You know, how do you answer that? It's like when I was a cable guy, if they would have asked me that, I probably would have said something mean about the word empathy. What are we doing here?
What do you?
Let's put our headphones in, guys. We're gonna do one last thing before we go on vacation.
Wait, what was the question again?
Uh,
Empathy towards a teammate.
Name a time where you've had empathy towards a teammate.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's I don't know. That's easy. I don't know. Once again, just think of something. There's enough TV shows you can copy from. I don't
like
know what
that you
it. I don't know
copy
what
from
it is
TV.
about myself, but like, what I would say is that, when it comes to telling lies, you should not feel ashamed if you copy from your relatives, if you copy from acquaintances.
From TV.
TV sometimes can be too obvious,
but
but
people
like,
think TV's real.
but sometimes of a very dramatic story that happened in an acquaintance or a friend of a friend. You just adopt that yourself, and that is a good way to like win the favor of a job and your employers and all of that stuff.
Yeah, taking like somebody who you admire or
Yes.
like and just
Just
giving
saying, "I
yourself
did that."
their-
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and
That
it's
is
I'm
how you
serious.
interview.
and
That's-
it's
I'm just saying,
realistic
that's
because that
the-
actually happened.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. That's the answer to honestly how I made it through all this stuff. Is people like, how did you make it through this job? And it's like, well, somebody told me this story one time about how, they fucked up everything at work and then they turned it around. I'll just tell their story as my own.
That's good.
And
That is
then-
so good. I mean, you're just trying to get a job. You're just lying to HR in a situation where you're supposed to lie.
right.
Like none of this
Well,
is
they
immoral.
but they want to be. They have to be. They are. In order for them to get a paycheck, you have to say the right phrases. You have
Yes.
to answer in the right way, and then they are cleared, and they can let you in. And then once again, whatever happens after that, they find out how your shit fucking
And
plays
then
out.
at the end of the day, you're gonna do the fucking job. You're gonna do what they tell you to do, and you're.
That's for me was the same thing as like I disagree with everything that's going on here. I live a completely alternative lifestyle than everybody here, but I also show up and do the emails and click the stuff in the boxes that you want. So, I mean, I'll just tell you what you want to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all. If that's all you want,
And they have 90
I'm
days.
that's all anybody
Yeah.
in this world wants.
You've got 90 days for them to figure it out, too. So you usually got to put that show on from interview to 90-day probationary period.
But I
And
always
then-
and you turn the show
and
off
I do
immediately.
and I
And then
gotta say-
after that, the sports drinks start flying out the door.
Yes.
yeah.
Well, like 90 I mean, you have to I want to say, like, really, if you're going to try to get yourself in, you dedicate your life to a job for 90 days. Like, you really do the right thing and spend all of your time and let them know that you're thinking about it constantly. And once you've set that first impression, coast.
Coast.
From
Yeah. Especially a
there,
big
Yeah.
from you've
corporation.
bought yourself years of like sleeping on the clock, scheduling meetings that are like 2 hours before the end of the day, and then you can just leave. All of it, 90 days, because all they're gonna think about is like, God damn, that guy just is like always. He's really glad to have this job. He's just always thinking about it. I mean, it's crazy. Brett sent an email last night at 1 a.m. about that new project. I was pretty impressed. But like 6 months from now, I'm not available right now. I'm not available. They're like, oh, well, we want to know, man. We really know. You helped out with that project at 1 a.m. that one time.
That is true. It is the 90-day thing because I worked real hard on my first 90 days at the cable company. And then, like I said, I worked there for 7 years and couldn't get fired. Like, if you're looking to get in at a big, giant corporation and work in the corporation doing, kind of the jobs in the middle, which was all I was ever looking for. I was never looking for management. I just wanted a job that I did the job and at the end of the day, I got to go home.
Right,
That's
right.
all I ever was looking for. And if you want that, it really just is dedicate your life to it for 90 days. Do all the right shit. And then when you get on the other end of that, that's the impression they have of you.
Yeah.
They're like, this is the guy,
Yeah.
All right.
Wonder Kid.
Yeah. We're going on vacation, so I thought we'd do a little extra time here. And
Okay.
we're going to
OT.
listen to Mike Rowe.
We get paid overtime for this.
This is overtime, yeah. We're going to
gonna
listen to Mike Rowe for
By
a few minutes and
Canagar.
hear what he has to say.
All right.
So he's our mortal enemy. He was on Tucker Carlson.
Oh, wow.
And let's hear it. Let's hear it for the boys.
Well, if you look carefully, you'll see subtle signs of decay throughout our society. Starbucks, for one example, recently announced that going forward,
it's all
its seats
scrambled.
and bathrooms will be open to non-paying customers.
Hold on.
Go back.
Yeah, this is a very weird... okay, you ready?
Yes.
I'm going to start over.
The buffering.
If you look carefully, you'll see subtle signs of decay throughout our society. Starbucks, for one example, recently announced that going forward, its seats and bathrooms will be open to non-paying customers. It's bad news if you want to bring your kids there. Pretty good news if you're a vagrant. Meanwhile, in New York, a couple had to evict their 30-year-old son from their basement because he refused to move out. Many defended his decision to live there forever. Mike Rowe is the host of the TBN
So this
show
is what we
Somebody's
get
Got
to
to
hear
Do It,
what
the
Mike
latest
Rowe
season that
has
will
to say
debut soon.
about,
He just
guys.
spoke to us about these stories
This
and
is-
how they may be connected. Here it is.
Here we go.
Joining us
Well,
tonight,
what
Mike
is
Rowe.
this,
Good to see you, Mike.
This is a wild ride.
Tucker, how are you?
couldn't be better, but bewildered, and maybe you can clear this up. Starbucks announcing
you pause
you
this
no
for a
longer
second?
have to buy anything.
They are so this whole thing that we just got rushed into
Yeah.
is they're trying to paint America as this topsy-turvy place right now
Yes.
because of bathrooms?
Well,
Because Starbucks is letting people
Can you believe it?
pee in Starbucks if they didn't buy coffee first. Is
Can
that
you
the
believe it?
premise?
that's it.
Starbucks will take your pee and poop for free. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You don't have to buy a coffee. You know, the coffee makes me shit, to be honest. The coffee's always made me shit. That's why the bathrooms are on site. If you're not drinking the coffee, you aren't shitting.
Right. Well, they're real people that are angry that you have to spend money to use the bathroom if you've left your house. Like,
Right.
that is what they're saying.
And they're not available anywhere else. I mean, DC is a place that really has no available bathrooms, but Starbucks is a good place to go.
Well, actually now, I've been to a few in other cities. I think I was in Portland, Oregon, and I had to ask for the code. Now they'll give
There's
you
lots
the
of
code,
codes, yeah.
but they'll put a lock on the door.
I mean,
to
we
make
got
you feel
white
ashamed.
privilege. We don't have to spend money to use the Starbucks
Right,
bathroom.
sure. I mean, I just spend the money though. So let's see how Mike
This is-
Rowe reacts to that and
Dude.
a kid who lived with his parents till he was 30, and then they tried to kick him out, so he took him to court.
What do we? I mean, this makes me so apathetic.
All right, let's hear Mike Rowe. Let's hear what he has to say.
He's got the top button undone.
to lounge around
He's on vacation.
its
He
stores
is.
or
He's
use
He's
the
got his Tommy
bathroom.
Bahama shirt on.
Meanwhile,
He got the
30-year-olds
logo.
are suing to stay in their
Okay,
parents'
here we go.
basements.
Here
They're
we go.
not.
Are these stories connected? Do they tell us something bigger about where the country is going?
Dogs and cats living together. Mass
Exactly.
period.
What is this?
Look,
Weird.
personally, I'm in the midst
is
right now
embarrassing.
of doing what I do every year, which is try and give away work ethic
right.
scholarships. It gets
Yes.
harder.
He is in the middle of giving away his work ethic scholarships, in which you have to demonstrate. He's going to explain this. He's going to explain how to get a micro work ethic scholarship. And I guess we should know that he thinks there's 6 million jobs open throughout the world, and and that we're just missing out, that people won't take them. So here we go. Come on, Mike.
Every year. So,
Wait. It gets harder to give away money?
Well, now,
we've
that's...
given away $5 million over the last 5 years. And yes, every year it gets increasingly difficult to affirmatively reward work ethic. There's some things my scholarship requires you
Okay,
to do.
that's the
during
requirements.
scholarship.
That's not true at all.
requirements.
Write essays and make videos and sign a sweat pledge. And
gotta
when
sign a
people
sweat pledge.
are often confronted with these hoops through which I ask them to leap, they take what you call umbrage at that, and I find it fascinating. It doesn't bother me so much because I understand demand, and work ethic is very much in demand.
Well-
But to answer your question, why is it harder
Oh, I'm sorry.
to
Wait,
find
so what
it? I
so
think
what
that
is he
probably
doing?
does have something to do with the expectations
He's
that
He
have
pays
evolved.
for it, and you can make a video, and if you have the writing skills to do like a groveling type letter that you sufficiently beat yourself, like any
Yeah.
good resume process, like any good interview, you beat yourself. You say, you know what I know people would say about me is that I'm just too bullheaded, and I always want my way and make everything, I think a lot about what people hate about me, and I agree with them, to be honest, because I'm hardworking and I'm ready to accept nothing for everything.
Nothing for everything is a shirt.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That's what you got to give.
And he's saying...
That's sweat, baby. That's how you sweat.
And the way he talks that bothers me is that he really does act like there's all these people out there that don't want to be a plumber.
Not.
And that, to me, I can't even imagine.
I
that
have
that's
email.
true.
I have emails, lots of them, from electricians, from linemen, from pipe fitters that are making like $41.50 an hour on the regular, living in Montana, living in anywhere that isn't like a fucking major metropolitan city that are doing just fine, and people are getting hired to be electrical, to do all of that shit. People are making money in those trades. Very small sector of what we do, but it is available. I mean, it is
Right.
available, and
plumbing is
people do
everywhere. People need plumbers, people need that stuff. So like, I think that people want those jobs. I wanted a plumbing job, and I mean, yes, there shouldn't be fucking hoops between someone who wants to learn and do the work and becoming a plumber, but there fucking are. There just are a lot of fucking hoops, and you got to work for a lot of fucking assholes, and you got to make no money.
And then the shitty thing about this is that he's setting you up for schooling, and you're going to get certified in something that has been just pared down to contract work. Like, you're not getting like a full pension,
a full-time union,
right?
Big-time job.
Right. They'll teach you how to work on a car and then send you to Meineke to do, oil changes and shit. Like, there's no guarantee that we're going to respect these trades and pay, these people that go through this process anything what they're due. He's funneling people into it. It's like the for-profit colleges is what he's doing. It's like, I'll teach you how to do medical billing transcription so that you can make $16 an hour instead of all these scrubs at McDonald's that are making $9 an hour. That's what he's selling.
That is what he's selling.
Well, Mike Rowe's explicitly anti-union, isn't he?
He's not anti-union.
He thinks people are against hard work if they're pro-union.
He just won't say specifically that he's
anti-union. He has to be.
Yeah.
Let's hear. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I really should do a deeper dive on that.
No,
but
I've read him about union.
There's just it's not good.
He's not.
He just thinks he's one of those guys that he believes in something. He's a like me and Brian do a lot of utopia building and playing around and being imaginative. In his world, there would never be a need for a union because some guy would be making so much money at his job that he would be like, thank y'all, man, y'all are my crew, you do make all my money for me, that's why I take care of you. That's why you can get the extended cab truck, that's why you got groceries in the house, you don't have to go 4 times a week,
Well, and in his world, you're thanking them for the work, and I don't think it even matters what you're paid.
In his world, it's just like, hey, will you teach me how to do this? Will you send me up the river to be a grease jockey at a fucking $14.95 oil change place?
Yeah.
Well, it's about penitence.
It is.
It's about
it is.
begging
All of it
and
is.
penitence.
It's waspy, fucking weird, flogging yourself.
Yeah. Let's hear him. Let's hear him out.
Done a lot to talk about on your program, and I'm starting to think that maybe there is a link between the expectations a patron might have in a Starbucks vis-a-vis the expectations a squatter who just happens to be genetically tied to you might have vis-a-vis the basement in which
your
he
son
currently
can
dwells,
actually be
et cetera.
a squatter in your house.
Of all the divides in the country, I think you could probably make a pretty interesting case that there's a fissure running through the expectation of what happens when we elevate safety and feelings to a level of primacy. I think it creates a real disconnect that people are struggling to parse.
Well, wait a second.
Here we go.
Are you saying that safety isn't the most important thing?
Here we go.
Ever?
Hold on.
Wait, so what
I'm saying?
He just said, so basically
what did
what
Mike Rowe
he's
just
saying
say?
Is I can boil it down to this.
Please.
He's trying to give people he's trying to give people great jobs that exist, definitely, where you make a bunch of money.
For sure.
And the reason that they don't want them is because they have the expectation that they could do something great because they've been spending time in safe spaces. That is exactly the way he says that there's a sort of he thinks that people have too high of expectations for what their life should be,
right? Unless
they're working until they're dead. You know?
I mean, some people like us, God chooses us to be, celebrities and, get people that are storytellers for the rest of you, the slovenly, uncleansed masses that are going to end up toiling for decades until you eventually
Yeah.
get carcinoma.
Absolutely. So he thinks that safe spaces cause an expectation, like that
It's a
there
fake
are
environment,
safe
right?
spaces, which aren't.
You know-
I mean, these things. It's weird.
Let's
Like,
talk. Yeah, I mean, safe. It's college campuses where
Yeah.
people. This is somebody going on national television that is concerned about a conference room at a university in Michigan, where a bunch of, non-men identifying people want to have a meeting and kind of talk about what things that they want to do together. This is what these people are concerned about.
Yeah, well,
they're all in hysterics about this.
This threatens
Right.
their livelihood as TV presenters somehow.
Yeah, and it's weird. It is weird that like they are concerned about what happens in a coffee shop.
Right.
That people just hang
There's
out in that calls itself an inclusive, safe space.
Right.
They act
the
like
fem night at the bike co-op is like, well, what if I want to work on my bike that night? It's like there's 6 other nights.
Yeah.
There's also the day, like just this one night.
I mean, these guys think that they seem to extrapolate what happens in those places as being everywhere.
Right.
And every person younger than them that's not a plumber or a fracking company, like
this is-
crane operator, everybody that's not doing that are there. They're in a safe space, and that
Yeah.
you're not allowed to say certain things, and you're not allowed to do certain things.
This is
you know?
Satanism to them. This is the new This
Yes.
is people congregating. This is women, non-binary people congregating, harnessing dark energy where the malehood and machismo is not included.
Patriarchy.
There's
Yeah.
no
And it's
patriarchy in
even-
this, and this is creating some sort of rift in existence where now we're going to go off the rails.
So you're saying that if 3 non-male people get together in a room, that means nobody wants to be plumbers. This is fucked.
Right.
That is true. That is their whole thing. So let's
All of a sudden, they won't have babies with us.
That everybody wants to go home safe at the end of the day. Safety always would be a delightful bromide, a wise platitude. Safety first is the stuff of idiocy.
Why is-
it allows us to begin to believe that somebody other than us might care more about our well-being than we do, and the minute we buy into that nonsense, then we embrace the warm grip of complacency. So no, safety is not the enemy, but if you make it the priority, then let's just wrap ourselves in bubble pack and drive at speeds approaching 5 miles an hour and never assume anything that could ever be confused with risk.
But doesn't he look at people?
What is this about?
Who want to be writers or people who want to get liberal arts degrees? Doesn't he view them as like making, like they're not allowed to do that.
No,
They
that's
have
a
to
fool's
make-
errand.
Yeah, they
Or
want
actually-
a person, because my dad, right? We've talked about this in the past. My dad always told me when I was growing up, like if I wanted to do something, he'd be like, it's hard to make it there and shit like that. And until I was in my 30s, that's how I saw the world. It was like, I want to be a lawyer. Oh, well, it's like really hard to be a lawyer and make money, so don't be a lawyer and things like that. That was kind of how my dad thought,
Yeah.
And I enrolled in school, and I went into a sociology program at Ohio State, and with the goal in the end to get a PhD and kind of just be an academic. That was like kind of the goal I wanted to do, and I thought I could do it. And my dad told me, like, there's just like no money in that. And I'm like, but there is money in it if you're good at it. And you're the best at it. So like the way that he